Egypt has one of, if not the longest histories of all nations. It begins in prehistoric times at a place known as, quote, Wadi Halfi, which terminology lesson is basic. A wadi is basically a river which only flows when there's rain. Tools found at Wadi Halfa date back 102,000 years ago. By 4400 BCE, or around 6,400 years ago, the Naqada became the dominant people of the Nile Delta region. These people traded with the people group to the south, known as the Nubians, who now make up what's now Sudan. The people known as the Naqadans later became the ancestors of the ancient Egyptians, who this is going to be focusing on later. By 2925 BCE, or 5,000 years ago, Egypt was united by its first pharaoh, or at least the first important pharaoh, Menes. Around 2650, or 4,600 years ago, a pharaoh named Djoser built the first pyramid we have found in Egypt. It's known for its unique step shape and not the traditional shape. By 2125, you can argue that the most famous building in Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was built. It was built to house the remains of a tyrannical pharaoh named Khufu. He was known for being a tyrant and ruling extremely harshly. The Great Pyramid of Giza stayed the tallest structure in the world until 1311, when the Lincoln Cathedral was built in the United Kingdom, or what's now the UK. It ended the Great Pyramid's 3,000-year-long streak as the tallest building in the world. By 2050 BCE, Egypt began its Middle Kingdom era. The pharaoh named Enfer II began the construction of the famous Temple of Karnak, which still exists to this day. By 1458 BC, or 3,478 years ago, the pharaoh Hatshepsut was killed under mysterious circumstances, likely because A, she stole the throne from her son, and B, she was denounced for being a female and faking her identity as a male. On April 16, 1457 BC, the Battle of Megiddo was fought between the Egyptians, led by the pharaoh Thutmose III. They fought the battle against a people known as the Canaanites, who are mentioned in the Bible. These people lived in what is now Israel and Jordan and the disputed Palestine, which I'm not covering in this video. It was an Egyptian victory. In 1274 BC, the Egyptians truced with the Hittites at the Battle of Kadesh. This battle didn't make the two hate each other. It actually forged an alliance, but this was not to last. By this point, the famous Tutankhamun was already dead, and he was known to be an insignificant pharaoh. He didn't really do much as pharaoh. After Ramses III had defeated the extremely mysterious Sea People who caused the Middle Ages collapse, Egypt had then became so weak it fell and was later conquered by the Romans. Before it was conquered by the Romans, and after the Egyptians themselves had stopped ruling Egypt, it was ruled by people known as the Ptolemaics. These people were half Greek and half Egyptian, with the most famous of these people being the last pharaoh or ruler of Egypt, or the kingdom, named Cleopatra. After the Roman Empire fell, Egypt's largest religion, Islam, came in when it was conquered by the Rashidun Caliphate in 646. After the Rashiduns, the Umayyads and the Abbasids all came and went, and Egypt would never be the same. In 1517, Egypt was conquered by the Ottoman Empire, who ruled it from 1517 until 1923, if you want to call it that. It's disputed. During its rule under the Ottomans, Egypt later rebelled and became independent after the Ottoman and Mamluk War, which is another word for Egyptians. its independence was cut short by everyone's favorite conqueror, the United Kingdom. It then became a British protectorate until 1936. From 1936 to 1952, Egypt's next ruler was the Kingdom of Egypt. No, not that one. The Kingdom of Egypt of the 1900s. They were installed by the British and French. On this day in 1952, the Kingdom of Egypt was ended by Muhammad Naguib, and this began the Egyptian Republic, and it later became the National Day of Egypt. We're not done yet, though. In 1967, Egypt fought in the Six-Day War against Israel, which they lost to Israel. As a result, they had to give Israel the Sinai Peninsula, which is where you can find the Suez Canal. In 1990 and 1991, Egypt fought in the heavily controversial Gulf War alongside the U.S., UK, France, Saudi Arabia, and others against Iraq, led by the highly controversial and infamous Saddam Hussein. He was killed, and it was won by the, quote, allies, including the U.S. and everyone already mentioned. Here comes the peak of this video, or the peak of the controversy, the Egyptian Revolution of 2011. On January 25th, 2011, the hate for the President Mubarak's corruption, so President Mubarak at the time was held out on a lot of corruption charges, and this led to a lot of hate which mounted in the revolution. 1,000 people were killed and 12,000 people were arrested. This is a great instance of police brutality. It remains an extremely controversial historical event today. Egypt then got al-Sisi, their current president, and with that is my history of Egypt. Sorry I had to paraphrase ancient Egypt's history a little bit. That's because it's just so long and there are so many events I could have covered. I hope you liked my video. Happy Egyptian National Day. Coming up will be my hardest history video yet. The next country's history video will be India, although that'll be on August 15th. Until then, which is quite a while away, I'll be making more videos, and just like always, thank you so much for watching.